Hello folks, in this video I'd like to talk to you about how I managed to record with headphones while having very bad tinnitus. This is one of the questions that I get asked the most. I get asked at least once a week. How does a musician record with headphones after they either get tinnitus for the first time or they're struggling with a spike with tinnitus? And in this video I'd like to give you some techniques that didn't work and some techniques that do work for me. So before I start, I want to let you know that I've got a website called helpmytinnitus.com where you can get free tips and tools, read my interviews, see my videos, all that sort of stuff. Lots of tips for people with tinnitus. I've also got two books available on Amazon. One is called Overcoming Tinnitus, and the second one is called A Musician with Tinnitus. You can get these both in Kindle and printed version. Links to all these things in the description box below. So my name is Rubinacci. I'm a professional musician and songwriter. I make my living every day by writing, recording, and performing music. I've had tinnitus for 18 years, and the last 6 years my tinnitus has been really bad. So one of the things I had to really figure out 6 years ago was, if I'm going to continue as a musician with this really bad tinnitus, how do I record with headphones? Now, I need headphones to record, and if you're a musician watching this, you'll know why. Because when I'm doing vocals and when I'm doing acoustic guitars, I have to wear headphones. There's not really much else option for me to do. So I had to figure out, how was I going to get around that? How was I going to get around having loud noise in my ears whilst not aggravating my tinnitus and making it worse, because I couldn't manage to have it any worse? So I'd like to give you some of the ideas or some of the solutions that I came up with. Some of them are ridiculous and they didn't work. Some of them do work, and they are the ones that I actually use to record when I'm making music now. So the first idea that I came up with 6 years ago was ridiculous. Now remember, my tinnitus might be worse than yours, so I was sort of desperate and I was trying to really figure out some way around this. So the first idea I came up with was this. Could I put one of the, I'm not sure if you can see this, one of the cups of the headphone against my chest and have the music on really loud so that I could get time and pitch? The pitch wasn't so much of a problem. Timing was. I couldn't stay in the pocket, couldn't find the downbeat, and for a singer, that's just not going to work. You can't be focusing on the downbeat while trying to focus on the performance. So that idea didn't work. So I quickly put idea number one away, and I thought, okay, I got to go back to the drawing board. I came up with idea number two. That was to have the volume very low in my cans, in my headphones, and have a metronome watch on my wrist that would allow me to get the time, because it was mostly the time that I was having problems with. So there are different manufacturers you can get. The one that I wanted was quite expensive, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work. So I actually didn't use this method, but I do think it could be a method that you could use. And that would be to have the volume very low in your cans so that you can get pitch. And then you'd feel the rhythm on your wrist to get the downbeat. So like I say, I didn't use this because the watch was quite expensive and I couldn't afford it at the time. But I do think it could be a solution. So solution number three, and you might have already thought about this yourself, and that is to simply put earplugs in your ears and the headphones on top. Now, this is something I get asked virtually every week by musicians who contact me. Do I recommend doing this? My own experiences are, yes, it works. It absolutely works. And I know that several well-known musicians do this. But here's the thing. You have to be careful to not push the volume too much to get through the earplugs, because you are still conducting volume through the bones in your cranium, in your skull. And that volume is going into your ears, because if you can hear it, it's going via your hearing. So it's important to not push the volume too much. Something to keep in mind is that earplugs are very good at attenuating high end, the treble part of the frequency. And that is where a lot of people, including myself, have problems. It's with the higher ranges of the frequencies. Earplugs are very good at attenuating that part, and that allows for the lower frequencies to come through so you can keep time and pitch, if you are following what I'm saying. So if you have earplugs in, it is reducing a lot of the high end, and that is possibly where you are getting trouble with your tinnitus. So that's what I found. I found that by putting the earplugs in, it was attenuating the high end, and it was not aggravating my tinnitus by recording that way. But I don't use that solution. I use solution number four. And when I came up with this idea, I just couldn't believe how simple it was. It was right there in front of me, and it was obvious. why don't I just EQ the mix that's coming into the headphones? It seems so simple, but to me it was a revelation. And this is a system that I use and it really works for me. So what I do is when I have a track that I'm recording vocally or an acoustic guitar, something like that, I go to the EQ and I just EQ the track and I create a bell where I get all the low information coming through for the bass and the bass drum, and I simply EQ out all of the high frequency, which is often where my ears are aggravated. It's very, very simple, but it really works. And the reason why it works is because I'm getting time from the bass drum and the low mids of the snare, so I can feel the time. I'm getting low frequency information from the low mids of the guitar and the bass, of course, so I can pitch. So I've got the two things that I need, time and pitch. I can throw myself into the track knowing that I don't have to worry about my ears too much because all the high frequency energy is not there. It sounds very strange in my headphones, of course. It sounds like a very strange mix, but it just allows me to focus on my job, and that is to do the vocals or the acoustic guitar. And it allows me to focus in a way where I can totally throw myself into the track and not be thinking of my ears, which is very important when you're doing a performance. Now, like I say, two things to bear in mind. One, it sounds very strange in your headphones because you haven't got all the sort of bells and whistles of the strings and the guitars and the pianos and everything like that. It's all EQ'd out. It's a very tight bell that I do. So it's going to sound strange. But if you can bypass that and just focus on your performance, it allows me to really sort of throw myself into the track. The second thing to bear in mind is that I still keep the volume very low. Just because I've only got low frequency information coming through, that doesn't mean that I go crazy on the volume. Now, I'm not a sort of doctor. I have no medical capacity whatsoever, so I can't in any way sort of suggest what volume you should keep your headphone mix at. All I know is my own experiences, and I keep it at about 30% on my headphone volume. I find that that is a place where I can relax. It's not pushing my ears too much, but I'm getting the vibe of the track. So what I would suggest in terms of how loud you should have it in your headphones is I think you'll feel it naturally. I think you feel it naturally. You think, yes, I can get into the track, and yes, I'm not aggravating my ears. So I think you need to find that place yourself naturally. And what I would suggest is, please keep in mind, and I mentioned this in my book, A Musician with Tinnitus, please keep in mind that volume is a strange thing. We have a strange relationship to volume, seeing as we're talking about how loud it should be in your headphones. The strange relationship is that we like it louder. Louder seems more exciting, it seems better, it seems like I can do my performance better if it's louder. I have trained my brain to, wherever I think it's really cool, I bring it down a touch, 10, 15%. And that's where I feel that it should really be. I don't need that extra 15% to feel the excitement. I've trained my brain to just think, okay, if that's exciting, let me bring it down a bit, because I don't need it exciting. I need it just so I can perform and I can record. And it's the same on stage. So when you find your natural level, try bringing it down a touch and see if you can still perform to the quality that you want to perform at. So that's what works for me. Let me know if that helps you in the comments below. I'd be really curious to hear if anybody else has got any solutions that might help me, because that's the best solution I've come up with. I think it works. Like I say, I can relax, I can perform. And then once I've recorded, I can obviously bring the EQ level to a flat and start mixing that way. But the thing about that is that I mix at very low volumes, and I'm mixing through speakers that aren't directly sort of, attached to my ears. So I think it works. I'd be interested to hear if you think it works and how you deal with that sort of situation. Leave comments in the comments below. Hope you found this video interesting. Like I say, I've got a website called helpmytinnitus.com where it's got lots of tools and tips on there that you can find out about music, and not just music, but also being a normal person with tinnitus. So helpmytinnitus.com. But for now, I want to say thanks for watching.